Hey there, Radioheads. Welcome to another episode of Radio KBE. In this episode, I wanted to talk about some of the observations that I had from the loss last night to the Timberwolves, and just some basketball related things that actually happened. I think the general theme for last night was about stuff that didn't really have anything to do with basketball, and that sort of captured the attention of everybody that was on there. But what I wanted to do was just sort of talk about some of the things that we saw with as it relates to just the stuff that we saw on the court. And so, as always, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing to the podcast. For those who have been listening to the podcast that aren't engaged with the YouTube, I'm actually going to be taking these podcasts, adding a visual format to it, and putting it on YouTube. So if you're one of those people who likes to see something while you listen to something, you can also do that as well. So you can either get it on Spotify or Apple, or you could end up just watching it on YouTube. And so one of the things, if you're listening to it on audio, you won't be seeing right now, but it's just something that I'm playing. You can always find it on the YouTube. Is just one of the things I thought affected the team last night was just a bunch of wide open misses. And I think one of the things that was good to see with the Lakers last night was their execution was really nice. But we did go in a different direction as it relates to just the style of offense that we were playing and sort of the essentially the lineup combinations that we used last night were a little bit more different than what we would typically use. And that was something that was sort of unexpected. And so that's something that I wanted to bring up, both the execution as well as the lineup combinations. So last night, the Lakers missed a lot of wide open threes. But the one thing that was really positive, or one thing that I took away from it that I thought was really good, was that they were generating really high quality threes off of misses. And if you guys remember, Darvin Ham has basically been talking about having good running principles, good running habits, getting up and down the floor in a fashion that makes sense as opposed to just frantically getting up and down the floor. Obviously playing defense and being good in that respect too as well. And I thought last night there was a lot of good running habit stuff. There were a lot of moments where we would have our guys in the corners where they're supposed to be ready to go, and then we also had situations where the everybody was sort of where they were supposed to be, and because they were where they were supposed to be early, it made it easier to make decisions for whoever the ball handler was. So as you guys can see on the clip, for the folks that are listening audio wise, you won't see this, you'll have to jump on the YouTube to see it, but I just kind of compiled a bunch of early offense plays to sort of share and take a look at. And you can see that whether it's Anthony Davis or LeBron or Russ, the, as long as there are guys running with them and running with pace and running to the spots that they need to run to, it's very easy for any one of those guys to make the right pass or the right play. And more often than not, what would end up happening is the defensive players would turn around and they would, you'd get two or three guys trying to wall off the paint or to help each other out to deter the drive to the rim. And it would lead to an open jumper, or it would lead to a hockey assist, basically a potential hockey assist to a teammate. So I thought that was really good. I think the running habits that Darvin Ham is preaching is a big deal because it leads to easier offense. And while shot quality for LeBron has been amazing, it's been really good. He hasn't had to do too much hard work to get his shots off or get his looks off. We need to be able to do that for everybody. We need to be able to use the individual strengths that people have. And I thought last night was a good example of what happens when you don't make your shots, and how it can kind of not really put the exclamation point on good execution and good reads and good possessions. In some cases we did, but when we needed to throughout the course of the game, we didn't. And the Lakers never really got to a point where they were getting blown out, with the starters, despite missing so many threes. So this is similar to one of the prior preseason games where the opposing team had way more possessions because they grabbed a whole bunch of offensive rebounds, but the Lakers defense held up pretty well and kept the game close. Just a matter of whether they're making their shots or not. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the lineup usage last night. So last night, JTA was out because of his back, and Wendy Gabriel didn't play at all basically until like the fourth quarter when it was just basically the starters. But he didn't play with the starters. Matt Ryan played some limited information, limited minutes with the starters. I thought that was interesting to see. Lakers essentially went very small. There was a point in the first quarter where they played um, like Russ, Dennis, like Austin Reeves was our four basically, and we had AD at the five. And I'm not sure if that's going to be the usual way that the Lakers decide to play. It may just be situational, or I actually think it may just be Darvin Ham testing things out. Um, like I would expect JTA to be playing more minutes and stuff like that. But I thought it was, some of the stuff that I was concerned about was sort of reared its head a little bit, where we were at size disadvantages at certain positions. That interaction between Russ and McDaniels, like at the early in the game, like they were going at it because McDaniels he's 6'10" and Russ is 6'3", and they were just competing and they were heated. And as long as McDaniels kept settling for threes, it made it easier for Russ to defend him and challenge his shots. But once he started going to the rim, and it wasn't that he was beating Russ from the jump, they were having to use rub screens and curl cuts to have to do it. So it's sort of a testament that a 6'10" guy needs a screen to get away from Russ. Like that's sort of a good thing. But the point is that once he got hit with those screens or he got caught, behind the player because of screen action, it makes it very difficult for a 6'3" guy to match up with a 6'10" guy when he's right next to the rim. And the Lakers got sort of caught in a little bit of that, especially with Anthony Davis on the perimeter and LeBron on the perimeter at times. So that was an interesting thing to see. I don't know if the Lakers will continue doing something like that, but the good part of the good part about it, I guess the part that concerns me is it didn't seem like everybody could necessarily get in a rhythm the way they wanted to, whether it be Kendrick Nunn, Dennis Schroeder. And we may have just run it because Dennis Schroeder was finally available to play. So I'll be really curious to see how these lineups sort of work out. But it was good to see that the guards were all able to generate shots for each other. Some were more rusty than others. But really, last night was a good example of us just not capitalizing on good execution and good process. And we didn't have that many silly turnovers, took care of the ball pretty well, just missed shots. And I would imagine if Darvin Ham goes and looks at the tape, the coaching staff is basically going to tell the players that you guys did a good job with your opportunities. You just didn't make your shots, and we didn't get the exclamation point on the possessions that we wanted to get exclamation points for. So it'll be interesting to see how these lineup combinations work out. Whether Anthony Davis actually, how much he plays the five and how it affects the Lakers defense. But as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Radio KBE. As always, I appreciate if you like, share, subscribe it on whatever platform that you hear it on. And finally, I appreciate you giving me 8 minutes of your day to talk about Lakers basketball. I'll see you in the next episode.